Ever since Google Maps rerouted me through the most dangerous part of Los Angeles to save a full minute on my drive time, I've been averse to shortcuts. So when I saw the shortcut capo, I was instantly triggered, but now I know how to use it. So today I'm going to talk about why you want a shortcut capo. If you look at this, it's not a full capo. It only goes over a few strings, okay? This is actually kind of genius. Kyser makes these. They're very affordable. Sweetwater sent these to me. This video is sponsored by Sweetwater and Kyser. But I want to talk about why you might want this. So we have a standard tuned Martin D18 right here. The best thing in the world, okay? Now, I have been getting into alternate tunings a lot, but it sucks having to retune your guitar all the time, or even having like an extra guitar just for the purpose of having it retuned. Sometimes you want like your A1 guitar to be the one that is an alternate tuning. So the nice thing about this is you can very easily change the tuning of it without having like a full just kind of transposition thing. So what I mean by this is one of my favorite alternate tunings is a suspended chord tuning. All right, this is an E sus4. Open, 2, 2, 2, open, open. Okay, now I think the sound of suspended chords is beautiful. When you can have them as the open string set, it's the best of all worlds, right? So why you have a shortcut capo is you can actually put it right here on the 2nd fret. Right now, just easy as that. The low E string is still wide open as an E, just like the top, and then the B string. The only thing that actually gets clamped down by the capo are the A, D, and G strings. So now I can play that chord without having to do anything. All right, now there are other tunings and stuff that offer this, and we can do this in a bunch of different keys, which we'll demonstrate in just a second. But why you might want to do this is as follows. First of all, for fingerstyle stuff, it makes things a lot easier, especially with the capo on the 2nd fret right here, because what happens now is the D string is sounding out an E note. In fact, the octave of the low E string, okay? So you get something really musical right off the bat just by putting a fingerstyle pattern on it, okay? Now, one of the best benefits to alternate tunings is the E and the D strings will be the same note. This is a great example of this. Why that's good, especially for a guitar player, is because when you have like a traditional fingerstyle kind of pattern that shows up a lot, is just your thumb keeping time by going E to D, or in this case, E to an octave E, right? You can make a pattern out of this. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, both 3 and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, 3, and 4. And already it sounds pretty good, right? So we can think of this as being in the key of E. Actually, I want to think of this as being in a different key, but let's start off by thinking of it in the key of E. So to make some of the simplest, most interesting music we can go to one of the existing open strings. Let's take the B string 5th fret. That is an E. Okay? So now we're adding another E to this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce back and forth between that and then on top. See how I'm doing that? E, D, E, G, D, B. When I hit that B string, this is a note that's going to change, and we're just going to go through the E major scale, okay? If you follow my Patreon, you know that to make a major scale, you just apply the formula whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half, okay? So those are gonna give us all the notes in the key of E major. So let's just run through the key real quick by changing the note on top, okay? So here's the first note, a whole step, another whole step, half step, whole, 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 half. Okay, now what we can do is we can start kind of moving back and forth through the scale to kind of create some cool patterns. Okay, and I'm just going through. The only thing I'm changing is the B string note going through the notes in the key of E. Really simple. We can do the same thing on the highest string. Then we can kind of add maybe other familiar chords you want to do. Maybe do like a 1, 4, 5 in the key of E. All that means is like the first chord in the E major scale is the E major, E, F sharp, G sharp. A major is the 4 chord, and then B major is the 5 chord. So maybe we don't even want to do anything fingerstyle. You just let it rip and then go A, B, like this, while still keeping the B and E string open, right? So the cool thing about this is we start off with a E suspended chord, thing is you can do that in standard tuning, but then that home chord now is E sus4. We could even add the 6, 5, 4. And then back to home. Okay? And having a suspended chord be home kind of gives like a really interesting sound where it's like, is that resolution? It kind of adds a little bit of a storytelling component to your playing, which I think is like really cool and very inspiring for maybe writing songs or playing something in just a different way, right? Now, my actual favorite way to use this is using it where E sus4 is not actually going to be the home chord in the key. I'm going to play this as a chord in the key of A major, all right? So now our first chord would be here, A major. And then maybe our next chord could be D major. And then there's like a lot of cool different ways that you could play these, right? So for instance, we can keep A as just like, 5, 7, 7, 6, open, open. That's gonna be where we're gonna resolve. That's our home chord, okay? Now the 4 chord is gonna be D major. Now the cool thing about this is if you look, if I just play this little mini 2-note, kind of like how you play like a D major or a C major shaped chord, just on the 5th fret of the A string and the 4th fret of the D string. Now again, that G string is clamped down to give me a note in a D major chord. It's giving me the A, right? And then when I add that B and E on top of it, I can kind of do these hammer-ons that usually are only available to me in the key of G because I have, the pentatonic where I'm just kind of hammering on the 2nd fret. Because remember, from 2 to 4, since A, D, and G are clamped down, all these kind of hammer-on and pull-ups are now available to me in a higher register while still keeping the cool open top end of having a B and E note on it. And again, you can't do that with just a regular capo, right? So again, I really think that playing around in the key of A is a really cool thing that you could do to have fun with. We could also just take any key that has an open E and a B in it, because now the notes in this chord, remember, are E's. Let's go through all of them, all 6 of them, right? We've got E on the E string, 2 on the A string is a B, so E, B, octave E, A, B, E. Okay? So if we talk about maybe some other keys that is in, let's do another thing with B and E in it. Let's do B major, right? So now our 1 chord is B, 4 chord could be here, E. We can have that cool F sharp, that crunchy F sharp there. And again, all from just using a partial capo, which is a very small investment that'll just save you time retuning in and out of suspended chord tunings. And again, you can get as creative as you want. Now, if you really want to flex on everyone with the maximum show of opulence and wealth, you get another Kyser capo, like a full capo. Let's put that on the 3rd fret, right? Capo on 3 is always really cool. Let's go 2 frets higher and then put that on there. So now it's essentially G suspended, which a lot of times to get something like this, you have to like really tune down. But now everything is in the key of G, but I can still use all those same shapes, right? Or I can think of it as maybe the key of C even, whereas like the 8th fret is my C, F, G. So it's actually like a really easy way, and I mean, come on. Look at that. You show up to open mic night like this, you're gonna get a lot of looks, a lot of questions. Great conversation starter. Just stacking capos on top of each other. And then just to really drive people wild on the internet, then you double the capo on the headstock. Like I said, just a total flex. Pure opulence. But it really isn't that expensive because you go to Sweetwater because it's like the best deal for all your music gear. So, that is just a real quick overview of why you need a shortcut capo. Because specifically, again, for suspended chord open tunings, I think it's the best. Everything sounds so much prettier, and it opens up a whole different kind of just clarity to your songwriting. That otherwise you're going to be retuning, and then, you know, depending on the weather and stuff, it'll always try to go back to standard tuning and be out of tune, when you could just knock out one of these real expensive capos and then have it all at your fingertips. Thank you to Sweetwater and Kyser for sponsoring the video. I will talk to you guys soon.